The story that appears to bring some closure to families grieving the loss of loved ones more than 70 years ago. Researchers, if you missed the huge news over the weekend, have discovered the wreckage of the USS Indianapolis.
It's a huge deal.
The USS Indianapolis rests nearly 18,000 feet below the Philippine Sea, in darkness so complete and pressure so immense that few dare to explore its shattered hull.
People have searched for the USS Indianapolis in the past, but haven't been successful. The expedition team that found the wreckage is in the process of surveying their findings now.
But recent deep-sea missions have uncovered chilling signs, rhythmic noises, strange scratches, and a fleeting glimpse of something unexplainable that suggests this war grave may not be as silent as history assumes. What lies inside this steel tomb, frozen in time for almost 80 years, defies all known science and challenges our understanding of the deep ocean's mysteries. The haunted wreck site. Beneath nearly 18,000 feet of dark ocean, the USS Indianapolis lies fragmented but hauntingly present, a silent sentinel to a long-past tragedy. But a recent deep-sea expedition uncovered anomalies that shattered the stillness historians assumed reigned over this war grave. The advanced submersible Triton 4 recorded strange noises, rhythmic pulses, and grinding scrapes that shouldn't exist in a shipwreck this old and at this depth. These unexpected sounds suggested something alive or moving, defying the natural decay and silence of the seafloor. The Triton's cameras captured more than mere wreckage. Inside and outside the ship's hull, long parallel gouges marred the steel plates, marks inconsistent with torpedo damage, collisions, or natural erosion. These scratches appeared clean and fresh, lacking the typical bacterial layer found on other parts of the ship. That the metal was brighter and less corroded hinted that whatever made these marks might have been active recently, deepening the mystery about what truly lurks in the wreck. Adding to the suspense, submersible sensors detected a faint pulse, a steady, deliberate rhythm, originating from the Indianapolis coordinates, challenging everything known about sound propagation at such depths. The extreme pressure at 18,000 feet generally crushes and silences organic activity, yet this rhythmic tapping persisted. This discovery raised troubling questions. Could the shipwreck really be haunted by something more tangible than memory or myth? Or was it a natural phenomenon misunderstood by science? When the Triton descended to explore, the tension aboard the support vessel was palpable. The pressure outside the drone's titanium hull exceeded 5,500 pounds per square inch, enough to collapse ordinary submarines instantly. Yet, the warship stood firm, and the drone's equipment began picking up unexplainable readings. These signs of movement and sound hinted at a presence inside the wreck's labyrinth, a chilling prospect that would soon become impossible to ignore. Though the crew pressed forward professionally, every unsettling noise filled the silent control room with anxiety. The trapped, unseen force seemed to acknowledge the Triton's presence, culminating in damage to the drone itself. A camera was destroyed. The orientation shifted violently, and the last recorded sounds vanished into an oppressive, suffocating silence. Something had confronted the explorers in total darkness, and the consequences were immediate and undeniable. This confrontation raised fundamental doubts about the wreck's nature. Decades of silence had been shattered, replaced by a collision of history and the unknown that even experts struggled to explain. The idea that the Indianapolis is merely a lifeless hulk was no longer tenable. The shipwreck seemed to conceal secrets extending far beyond human understanding. Was there life, or something like it, lurking amid the rust and ruin? Beyond the physical damage, the exploration revealed a warship frozen in a final, defiant pose. Unlike other famous wrecks that appear doomed to dissolve, the Indianapolis's form remains sharp, still militarily imposing despite nearly 80 years underwater. this preservation made the unexplained phenomena all the more surreal. How could something so well-preserved harbor such anomalous activity, challenging the boundaries of science? As whispers of the expedition's findings circulated quietly among experts and enthusiasts, the true extent of what had been recorded remained hidden from the public. The official narrative minimized the anomalies, yet rumors of strange sounds, damaged equipment, and unseen movements continued to fuel speculation. The underwater abyss had kept its secrets for decades, but now something was stirring, resonating from within the ship's broken hull. The solemn history of the Indianapolis itself adds profound weight to these discoveries, drawing us deeper into a story of tragedy, loss, and unanswered questions. History of the Indianapolis. The USS Indianapolis's final voyage is etched deeply into World War II history. An epic mission quickly turned catastrophic. In July 1945, after completing a secret delivery of atomic bomb components destined for Hiroshima, the cruiser was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine. Struck by 2 torpedoes, she sank in just 12 minutes, plunging nearly 1,200 men into the deadly waters of the Philippine Sea. The tragedy did not end with the sinking. It was only the beginning of a harrowing ordeal. Nearly 900 men were left stranded, floating amid an open ocean blazing under the unforgiving sun. For 4.5 days, the survivors endured dehydration, exposure, and relentless shark attacks, the deadliest recorded in history. Oceanic white-tip sharks swarmed, relentlessly hunting amidst floating life vests and debris. When rescue finally arrived, only 316 men survived the nightmare, a mere fraction of those who had entered the water. Nevertheless, there are still perplexing omissions even in the official record. The Navy's assumption that sharks were responsible for a significant number of deaths does not clarify the situation completely. If we deduct the dead from the sinking, those who drowned or died of exposure, we still have dozens of men whose fate is unknown. The testimony of the survivors tells of events completely different from the usual shark behavior. Men going under the water without any noise and straight down, screams being stopped in the middle, and strange forms moving under the surface, unfollowed by waves. The accounts were, however, considered hallucinations due to delirium, dehydration, and seawater poisoning after the men spent days at sea in 1945. The medical staff and the Navy said it was the extreme mental and physical stress that caused this. But then again, the vividness and the consistency of the testimonies keep on lurking in the minds of people and suggesting a reality which is not only mysterious but also unsettling and is under the waves. The whole drama became more tragic through the Navy's shortcomings in the areas of communication and rescue operations. The captain of the Indianapolis, Charles McVeigh, who gave the order to abandon ship, was under the impression that the Navy still knew where the Indianapolis was, and thus he was not informed that the Navy had lost the Indianapolis completely. It was nearly 5 days before the rescue was made due to a series of wrong turns and negligence at the command levels. This disaster added the human cost, changing a military loss into a great disgrace. After the event, Captain McVeigh was put on trial. It was the only case in World War II of an American captain tried in court for losing his ship in battle. He was blamed for not sailing in a zigzag pattern, which is an important maneuver when you want to stay undetected by enemy submarines. And he was found guilty, even though the commander of the Japanese submarine testified that the charge was baseless. He was shunned by the public, and after enduring decades of ridicule and harassment, he unalived himself in 1968. It was not until the year 2000 that Congress officially cleared his name. The tools and technology brought to bear in recent deep-sea missions promised new insight that challenges everything we thought we knew about the Indianapolis and its final resting place. The Deep Sea Mission. In early 2024, The research vessel Meridian departed from Guam with a team of specialists and the most advanced imaging technology ever assembled for a deep-sea archaeological survey. The mission: to create the most detailed three-dimensional digital reconstruction of the Indianapolis wreck ever attempted before the relentless ocean could claim the ship completely. The crew included marine archaeologists, deep-sea engineers, acoustic experts, and 2 observers from the United States Navy, attending under the premise of military oversight for a war grave. The centerpiece of the expedition was the Triton 4, a remote-operated drone outfitted with 8 high-definition cameras, hypersensitive sonar arrays, and acoustic sensors capable of detecting faint signals, even a heartbeat through steel. This platform represented a leap forward in underwater exploration, pushing the limits of technology in harsh, crushing depths where even light disappears. The mission promised unprecedented clarity and precision in documenting the ship's condition in its final hours. Before the dive began, however, an acoustic technician detected something unexpected: an anomaly buried deep beneath the waves. The sensors picked up a faint, rhythmic pulse from the Indianapolis coordinates, steady and mechanical in nature. This was perplexing, as no sound should have been detectable at such depth from a shipwreck over 80 years old. The chief engineer initially dismissed the signal as equipment noise or calibration error, yet the recording was preserved, unsettling the technician. At 6 in the morning, the Triton 4 began its slow, deliberate descent into the abyss, a journey lasting nearly 4 hours. As it passed through layers of twilight and eventually complete darkness, the crew on board Meridian faced the immense silent pressure of the Philippine Sea. The depth passed those of the Titanic, yet the Indianapolis lay still deeper beneath the endless black, untouched by sunlight or life as commonly known. Throughout the descent, the crew maintained a tense professionalism, aware that the legacy of the Indianapolis and the mysteries it held were about to resurface. The technological marvel of Triton 4's equipment allowed multiple live feeds, sonar imaging, and pressure monitoring, but as they neared the wreck site, the disturbing acoustic anomalies intensified. A grinding, scraping metal sound replaced the earlier rhythmic tapping, suggesting deliberate movement rather than natural decay. The submersible soon revealed an imposing profile rising from the sea floor, a massive angular hull preserved with surprising integrity. Unlike the artistic decay of other famous wrecks, the Indianapolis appeared military, functional, and frozen in time. Rust-blotched, but only as a surface feature. The ship's bow rose sharply, gun turrets pointed forward as if ready for battle, a dramatic canvas for the mystery unfolding around it. The path forward would take the crew inside the ship, where the mysteries only deepened, and the true nature of what haunts the Indianapolis began to take shape. Descent into darkness. The Triton 4's descent into the Philippine Sea was a slow, almost meditative journey into a world both alien and hostile. Starting at 500 feet, the water shimmered with a deep sapphire hue, sunlight filtering faintly through pale shafts. But as the submersible sank past 1,500 feet, the blue darkened to an inky twilight, and by 3,000 feet, all natural light vanished completely. The only illumination came from Triton's own lights, small, isolated beacons swallowed instantly by an infinite void. With every passing 100 feet, the outside pressure multiplied, pressing down with an unforgiving weight that could crush ordinary submarines like tin cans. By the time the submersible reached the abyssal zone at 4,000 feet, conditions had turned otherworldly. This realm, untouched by sunlight for millions of years, held temperatures just above freezing, and pressure so intense it defied human experience. Yet, the Indianapolis lay still another 3 miles farther below, resting quietly in this crushing darkness. Inside the cramped control room aboard the Meridian, 6 crew members maintained professional calm, running constant checks amid an unspoken tension. Each of them was conscious of the ship's grim history, an echo of tragedy looming beneath the waves. Descending deeper, the Triton passed the depth of the Titanic at 12,500 feet, marking a solemn milestone. The atmosphere on board grew heavier with every foot, the inevitability of the mission's risk settling in. A single flaw in Triton's titanium hull at these depths, less than a millimeter, would mean immediate implosion and a silent, irreversible end. Yet the submersible pushed on, guided by skilled hands and sophisticated instruments, venturing into a place where few humans have tread. At around 14,000 feet, the acoustic sensors triggered an unexpected alert. The rhythmic tapping heard during calibration returned, but the tone had changed. It was no longer a steady pulse, but a slow, grinding scrape. Metal against metal, deliberate and ominous. The technician's voice remained flat, but edged with unease as he noted how different this was from the natural creaking or groaning one would expect from a sinking ship. The suggestion was clear. Something was moving on the wreck. Something not explained by natural decay. The pilot and mission coordinator, on the other hand, did not allow the frightening sound to influence their decision to abort, and, instead, unraveled the matter after such a long and tough descent. The control room was tense with the situation, not only because the noise grew louder as the plane descended, but also because the sound was very likely intentional and indicative of a possible presence in the wreck. While the crew's quietness was revealing their confidence, the rest of the crew was sharing a fear of new unknowns and entrance. Sonar, at last, spotted the enormous mass lying on the seabed at 17,800 feet. The silhouette of the wreck, almost 1,000 feet long, began to emerge from the darkness, its sharp and angular contours contrasting with the subdued oceanic substratum. Once the crew turned on the powerful floodlights, they could see the Indianapolis as if it had just surfaced after being hidden for 80 years. The bow of the ship rose sternly above the silt, with the gun turrets still trained forward, seeming as if still on alert. The entire ship, then, appeared not as a corroded grave, but as a military stronghold, and its robust structure still heralded power and time along with tides. The crew members were so startled that they could not utter a word, and some of them were crying as they realized that they were witnessing a war grave. Indeed, the 8 decades spent underwater had not taken away the cruiser's majestic air. The wreck was in a state contrary to people's usual expectation of shipwrecks at such depths, where decay and collapse dominate the scene. The very clarity of the pictures only added to the idea that the wreck was a place caught between past violence and present mystery, initial findings and anomalies. As Triton 4 carefully navigated along the exterior hull, the cameras provided unprecedented clarity of the damage inflicted on that fateful night. 2 massive torpedo scars marred the starboard side, metal peeled back like torn paper, and collapsed bulkheads told the grim story of the ship's violent descent. Every inch of the structure bore witness to the destruction wrought by the Japanese AV-58 submarine's deadly strike. Yet, even amid the expected damage, the drone's cameras spotted something that historians had never recorded. Long, parallel gouges carved deeply into the steel plating ran alongside the known torpedo wounds. They resembled claw marks, regular, deliberate, and starkly different from the random shrapnel scars or corrosion patterns typical of decades submerged. The marine archaeologist's frown deepened as she noted how inconsistent these were with explosion debris or anchor drags. What was particularly unsettling was the absence of marine growth inside these gouges. The steel appeared fresher, brighter, and less corroded than the surrounding hull. Speculation about the cause ranged from cable drags during previous surveys to unknown natural phenomena, but none provided a satisfactory explanation. The clean nature of these marks suggested recent activity or disturbance, deepening the air of mystery surrounding the ship's current state. Such activity was believed impossible at such depths, yet the evidence refused to be ignored by experts. Meanwhile, Triton located a promising entry near the ship's collapsed midsection, where the hull had broken apart on impact. The drone's lights revealed jagged metal framing a passage into darkness. Maneuvering through this perilous opening required skill and precision. One misstep could end the mission. Within, the wreck was a time capsule, not just debris, but preserved artifacts frozen in the cold, dark silence of nearly 80 years underwater. The cameras recorded a sailor's boot, still laced, lying against a beam, an intact metal canteen, and a calendar frame, its pages long dissolved, but still hanging at an angle, a poignant reminder of the last day these men knew. The passage through the ship took the crew into areas untouched by light or human eyes since that fateful night. As the drone moved slowly deeper, the sense of entering a sacred tomb grew heavier. Then the acoustic technician's reports brought renewed unease. The scratching sound had shifted to a slow, rhythmic pulse, almost like breathing. It was now emanating from somewhere toward the bow, specifically heading for the ship's forward magazine, the section that once housed the atomic bomb components. Though those materials had been offloaded prior to the sinking, the presence of unexplained sounds in what should be empty compartments was deeply troubling. Exploration revealed a sealed hatch, still dogged fast after 8 decades, adjacent to another breach that was perplexingly bent inward instead of blown out. The metal showed smooth folds, like something with immense strength had simply pressed through, a method unlike any explosion or natural corrosion. On the opposite wall of the magazine, another clean breach bent outward, hinting that something had entered and exited the room, leaving behind bright, recently exposed steel. Suddenly, the eerie scratching ceased. Total silence filled the audio feed, broken only by a new, low, resonant hum vibrating in a frequency that seemed to affect the bones rather than the ears. The drone glided toward this darkness. For a fleeting moment, something moved, a pale, smooth shape crossing the frame too quickly for the naked eye, but preserved on film. The unexpected footage captured only 3 frames before the signal was lost, and the drone itself suffered damage. Its camera housing cracked, and orientation abruptly shifted. The mysteries lurking at the ship's bow were only the first of deeper secrets concealed beneath the waves, where history and the unknown collide with chilling intensity. The interior investigation. The Triton IV glided cautiously through the jagged breach in the Indianapolis's hull, entering a realm untouched by sunlight and nearly untouched by time. Inside, the ship was a frozen moment of history, preserved by the cold, dark abyss and the crushing pressure that stifled decay. The cameras revealed evocative details: a sailor's boot still laced, resting quietly on shattered beams; a corroded metal canteen, intact despite decades underwater; and a calendar frame hanging crookedly on a wall, its pages long dissolved, but memories hauntingly present. As the submersible ventured deeper through the bowels of the ship, it navigated corridors and compartments that had been sealed in darkness since 1945. There was an overwhelming sense of stepping into a tomb, silent and solemn, where every object told a story of the men who lived and died within these steel walls. Then, the drone's lights lingered on a small metal frame cradling a damaged photograph. The image was faint, but still showed a smiling young woman, someone's sweetheart, waiting in vain for a letter that would never come. The eerie silence inside the hull was pierced by a new discovery. The acoustic technician reported the mysterious scratching sound had transformed into a slow, rhythmic pulse, resembling breathing. This noise appeared to be coming from somewhere forward, toward the forward magazine, the very place where the Indianapolis once stored the atomic bomb components destined for Hiroshima. Though the dangerous cargo had been offloaded before the sinking, the sound indicated something was active where none should be. Exploring further, Triton approached a sealed hatch, dogged fast as if protecting a secret for decades. Nearby, the drone detected an anomalous breach in the bulkhead, metal pushed inward with smooth, folded edges, unlike jagged explosion damage. The opposing side of this compartment revealed a matching breach bent outward. It was as if an immense force had entered this chamber through one wall and exited through the other, moving deliberately through what should have been empty space. Attention to detail became more pronounced as scientists noticed an absence of the typical bacterial films and marine growth inside these compartments. The walls were unusually clean, the water inside clearer than in the rest of the ship. This cleanliness suggested some form of preservation or even ongoing maintenance by an unknown influence. Nothing in the depths, especially at such extreme pressure and darkness, behaves ordinarily, but this exceeded all known natural explanations. Suddenly, the scratching noise ceased entirely, replaced by a low, resonant hum. The frequency vibrated so deeply, it seemed to resonate not just in the water, but within bones. Following the noise, the drone's lights pierced 10 feet into the shadow beyond the breached bulkhead. In a blink, the cameras caught a flash of movement, pale, smooth, and astonishingly fast. Too quick for human eyes to track, but enough to be preserved on film for analysis. The unexpected motion was captured over only 3 frames before the feed cut to static, plunging the mission into a brief silence broken only by crackling interference. When the video returned, signs of struggle were evident. One camera's housing cracked, and the drone's orientation shifted sharply, as if grabbed and turned by an unseen force. The quiet hum vanished, replaced by an oppressive silence that felt almost like pressure bearing down from all sides. The unsettling forces recorded inside set the stage for an even more startling revelation about the nature of the ship's silent residence. Unexplained movements and damage. Once the drone ventured deeper inside the ship's protected chambers, the tranquility of the wreck gave way to sudden chaos. The 3 frames of motion captured on camera, though brief, showed a pale, rapid figure darting through the dark spaces. The unnatural speed and form of this apparition baffled marine archaeologists and deep-sea biologists alike. It was neither any known creature from recorded oceanic databases nor an artifact of camera interference. Shortly after this fleeting glimpse, Triton suffered damage. A camera housing cracked and one lens went offline. The drone's orientation abruptly rotated 90 degrees, as if forcibly turned toward the exit, the breathing bulkhead from which it had entered. This startling disruption suggested that whatever moved inside the ship was aware of the drone's presence and capable of physical interaction. The silence that followed was suffocating, marked by a palpable tension that engulfed the control room. Experts pored over the acoustic data, isolating the scratching noises and the low-frequency hum. Pattern recognition software detected a repeating sequence in the scratches, one that did not match any known biological, mechanical, or geological source. The hum's frequency was extraordinarily low, near the threshold of human hearing, bearing faint resemblance to blue whale songs, but occurring in a manner inconsistent with how those mammals produce sound. The technician likened it to a monumental tuning fork vibrating through a solid object. structural engineers weighed the evidence with apprehension. The inward breach of metal bore no impact scars but was folded and bent with tremendous force, unlike anything caused by collision or explosion. The outward breach showed a symmetric deformation, like a passage forced by steady, unyielding pressure. This slow, enormous force had treated inch-thick naval steel like aluminum foil, suggesting a strength beyond conventional understanding. Throughout the extensive review, naval observers maintained a reserved silence, exchanging glances devoid of explanation. Afterward, they retreated for hours of encrypted communication with Naval Command in Pearl Harbor. Meanwhile, the rest of the team remained unaware of the conversation's content, but sensed the heaviness that followed. The atmosphere shifted. Previously cordial relations gave way to cold professionalism and avoidance. Within 2 days of Triton's recovery, the mission was abruptly terminated. Official reasons cited equipment malfunction demanding immediate repairs, and no further dives were authorized. All footage, sensor recordings, and related data were reclassified as top secret. Crew members were required to sign extensive non-disclosure agreements, with penalties including imprisonment for violations. Official reports, limited in scope, omitted any mention of strange sounds, breaches, or the mysterious moving figure. Despite the Navy's attempt to contain the story, portions of the footage leaked anonymously online within months. Grainy images of the inward breach and spectrograms of the scratching persisted on obscure forums dedicated to deep-sea enigmas. While authenticity was contested, the leaks sparked renewed interest in unexplained phenomena near the Indianapolis wreck. The revelations inside the Indianapolis compelled all who witnessed them to grapple with the unknown forces lurking at the ocean's darkest edge. Forces that might redefine our understanding of the deep and of the wreck itself. Official response and cover-up. The unsettling discoveries made by the Triton 4 mission sparked immediate and stark reactions from naval authorities. Within 48 hours of the submersible's recovery, the expedition was abruptly terminated despite no publicly disclosed mechanical failures at that critical moment. Official statements attributed the early end of the mission to equipment malfunctions requiring urgent repairs, but insiders have long questioned this explanation given the timing and circumstances. All footage, sensor data, and recordings captured during the dive were suddenly classified under strict naval security protocols. Every member of the 15-person crew was ordered to sign a detailed non-disclosure agreement running to 37 pages, with legal penalties including imprisonment for any breach. This level of secrecy was unprecedented for a scientific survey and suggested there was far more at stake than technical issues. The official report submitted to the Naval History and Heritage Command was remarkably sparse, only 12 pages long, and concluded that the survey had been completed without detecting any significant anomalies. There was no mention of the mysterious acoustic signals, the recent breaches in the hull, or the fleeting, unexplained movement caught on camera. Such omissions fueled growing suspicion that a deliberate cover-up was underway. Despite official suppression, fragments of the mission's findings leaked anonymously within months. Grainy stills showing the inward breach, spectrograms of the scratching noises, and blurred frames depicting the pale moving shape circulated on niche online forums devoted to deep-sea mysteries. Though the authenticity of these materials remains debated, their existence contradicted the Navy's claims and stimulated intense speculation from independent researchers. Historical records reveal that this was not the first time unexplainable phenomena have been reported near the Indianapolis wreck site. A 1994 oceanographic survey noted persistent acoustic interference, later dismissed as geological noise. A 2010 Japanese expedition reported anomalous sonar returns implying a sizable moving object at extreme depth. But these observations were attributed to instrument errors. In 2019, unusual bioluminescent flashes were photographed in the area, light where none should naturally exist. Yet no clear explanation was provided. The location of the Indianapolis is itself one of the most mysterious regions on Earth. Situated at the edge of the Mariana Trench, the planet's deepest point. Nearly 36,000 feet of unmapped abyss lie below, a realm largely beyond human exploration or understanding. Scientists estimate that less than 20% of this zone has been mapped, leaving vast unknowns about the life and forces that could exist in such crushing depths. The possibility that something other than natural decay or marine life inhabits the wreck challenges traditional views of shipwrecks and deep-sea environments. The scratches, breaches, and unexplainable sounds imply a presence capable of deliberate, powerful action, pressing through steel, damaging equipment, and eluding detection in a hostile world of darkness and pressure. Whether biological, mechanical, or something altogether different, this presence defies easy categorization. The USS Indianapolis was meant to be a resting place of silence, but recent explorations show something far more unsettling lies beneath. Advanced technology has uncovered eerie sounds, strange markings, and unexplained movements that challenge our understanding of the deep sea. If you found this dive into mystery as gripping as we did, please like this video and subscribe for more deep explorations into the world's greatest enigmas. Your support helps us uncover what's hidden in the depths.